The transition to more sustainable food systems is accelerating, but real impact depends on how we use our resources more intelligently, reducing waste while creating new value. Welcome to the Impress podcast series, where we explore how research, technology and innovation come together to transform underutilized resources into sustainable food solutions. I am Dimitra Fourkalidou from Reframe Food, and today with me is Jonasz Borowski from COMEX. Welcome, Jonasz.
Hello, welcome, Dimitra.
To start, could you briefly introduce yourself and let us know about your work within Impress?
Yeah, sure. So one more time, my name is Jonasz Borowski and I'm the RFID Systems Director in COMEX. So maybe a few words about COMEX. COMEX is a printing house, already over 40 years on the market, so we have a huge experience. And it's based in Poland, in Wrocław. And we produce all kinds of self-adhesive labels to different brands like chemistry, pharma, retail, and also since 20 years we are producing RFID labels, so very specific labels with a microchip.
Mm-hmm. That's so exciting. And I was wondering if you could let us know a bit about NFC smart labels, what they are and how they're used.
Sure. So NFC labels, these are, if the product looks like a classic self-adhesive label, but inside the label there is a small microchip, and the gain in this NFC label is that this microchip is a data carrier. Mm-hmm. So NFC, near-field communication technology, is getting more and more familiar because it gains a lot for the final customer and to exchange the data. For example, a very important factor in near-field communication technology is that almost all of us has a near-field communication reader, and the near-field communication reader is basically a smartphone. Mm-hmm. So right now over 90% of smartphones on the market has an NFC reader inside. Wow,
okay. So I know that COMEX developed a passive NFC smart labels for food packaging. So how do these specific labels help consumers verify the authenticity of marine-based products? And what kind of real-time information can they provide once a product is opened?
Yeah, so we have developed a very specific NFC label, which is on this label we are using a specific antenna, a printed antenna. What I mentioned before, we are a printing house, so we have developed a technology where we can print an NFC antenna, and on a specific carrier, a biodegradable carrier. And these kind of labels we would like to use on in the Impress project, of course, to handle the data and to exchange information and give information to the final customer.
Mm-hmm. And your work includes studying active smart sensors, NFC devices, to monitor the temperature of fish products from the packaging stage to the store shelf. Based on your testing, how critical has this technology been in reducing food waste within the zero waste concept of the project?
Yeah, that's another part of the project where we have developed a smart sensor, a very basic device, because we knew and we had some feedback from our customers that especially in cold chain there was a need to monitor the conditions, like you mentioned, for example temperature, but we are also able to monitor, for example, humidity using the sensors. The sensors are the very basic devices where we can monitor the temperature in time. So it's very helpful concerning cold chain and the products, where we can check if there was some issue during the transportation. For example, from production to the store, we can monitor each minute what happened, and if there was, for example, the temperature was too high and it could influence on the product, and finally on the safety of the product, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very interesting. Now, I see that the NFC labels that you're designing allow for a two-way exchange of information. What exactly does this mean?
Yeah, that's correct. So the NFC labels are first our data carrier for the final customer, and that's the one way. So the producer can add information for the final customer, but it's also an option to get information from the final customer. So for example, if the final customer receives a product with an NFC label, he can just basically tap the label with his smartphone and, for example, exchange information or give some answers. For example, how the customer liked the product, if it was tasty for him, or for example, if it was fresh, or if the product was well packed. So this is the way, like the two-way information exchange. Of course, very important also, we don't want to, so the customer needs to allow to share the information. So if the customer will not allow it, we will not receive the information about his experience about the product. But if he will allow it, and we would love to have the information, we can experience from the information from the final customer. Just by tapping, I will say, the smart label on the product.
Okay. And are you hoping for specific feedback and collect specific feedback from customers, or is it something that could surprise you? Is it something specific that you're looking for?
It depends on who wants to receive the information from the customer and what kind of information. So we would love to receive the information about, like I mentioned, the quality of the product, if the customer liked the product. But we can give all different kind of questions to the customer, and it's like a huge range of possibilities.
Okay, I understand. Do you see any current legal gaps in the EU regulations that make it difficult to implement high-tech NFC sensors?
It's a difficult question.
Yeah.
So maybe I will see more chances. For example, if we speak right now about digital product passport, which is getting more and more familiar, and the European Union is working on standardization of digital product passports. So from our side, like COMEX, we see a chance where we can use the smart labels, but also the smart sensor so the smart labels can be the data carrier, and it can be the connection between the customer and so it can be like a passport for the product. Okay. So the NFC label can be exactly a passport of the final product, which matches to the digital product passport strategy.
Thank you so much for explaining all this, Jonas. It was great talking to you.
Thank you, Dimitra.
For those watching or listening, this episode is part of the Impress podcast series. If you want to learn more about the project, you can follow us on social media or visit our website. Thank you for joining us today.